How can we say that this frog-faced plumber had his best outing in his third ever game? Come on now. I'm Andy Boston and welcome to the Nostalgia Experience. And today, let me tell you why Mario 3 is a bad game, but you should still play it. First of all, if you love retro gaming and honest opinions, then click the little subscribe button on the tiny bell. Stay up to date with all of my ramblings. Okay, so Super Mario is an absolute staple when it comes to Nintendo fans, but also any other gamer. Pretty much everyone has had their hands on a Mario title at some point or other. But for some reason, Super Mario Bros. 3 is held in really high regard in the retro community and anyone who's into nostalgic gaming. Now, we obviously can't compare a 2D platformer with a 3D platformer in the same way that we can't compare an FPS with an adventure game. They're just two different genres, there's nothing we can do about it. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to look at our little plumber friend in all of his 2D outings from Donkey Kong right the way up to Super Mario Bros. Wii U. Or Super Mario Bros. U, Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, whichever version you're comfortable with talking about. We're not going to include the Super Mario Maker games, and we're not going to include the boggy app that came out for iOS and Android. One of them is a clear cash grab, and the other one is lazy game making. I will completely let you decide what that is in the comments below. Here we have Mario before he learned how to handle pipe, as a humble carpenter, later named Jumpman, trying to save a damsel in distress from an angry looking ape that we come to know and love from a different franchise later on called Donkey Kong. A pretty basic arcade platformer that isn't too much by today's gaming standards. Our courageous little carpenter retrained as a plumber and broke out into his own franchise with his brother Luigi, whose surname is Mario. Luigi Mario. And Mario Mario. I mean, you've got to be the Mario brothers somehow. Or at least that's how it is in the best film adaptation of a game ever released.
Name? Mario. Last name? Mario. Okay, what's your name?
Luigi.
Luigi?
No, Luigi Mario.
Okay, look, how many Marios are there between the two of you?
There's three. It's Mario and Luigi Mario.
The first iteration was another arcade. What the first iteration was another arcade-style platformer featuring the brothers in an endless level. But the brothers really got moving in Super Mario Bros., which came out for the NES or the NES. Argue that all you will. This game saw Mario and Luigi cascading through a variety of different levels to get to a castle and fight an anthropomorphic, spiky-looking dinosaur named Bowser, at this time named Koopa. This format is still present in today's games with a slight twist, but it still seems to work. Let's get back on topic though. Super Mario Bros. 3 introduced interesting game mechanics and items that I believe took away from the difficulty that was present in Super Mario Bros. 1, which made it a very good game. While I know that I have skipped Super Mario Bros. 2, that's because there's disparity between what we consider Super Mario Bros. 2 and what actually was Super Mario Bros. 2, for a Western audience obviously. Example 1. The ability to skip entire levels without warping. Now this is a weird one. In Mario 3 there are two ways to skip an entire level. Without using warp whistles, obviously, and I'll get into that in a minute. But the most prime example of this is 1-4. Okay, 1-4, you do not need to complete this level because there's a map in the game now and it's not even en route to the castle. I'll let you know why you should complete that level in a little bit. The second major way to skip is through a magic wing, or P-wing. We called it P in my house. This allows you to fly over the entire level without having to deal with any of the turtle-looking nasties at the bottom of the screen. Example 2. The warp whistle trick. In the very first world, you can get 2 warp whistles. These warp whistles allow you to get all the way to the very end of the game, or the last world at least, without having completed anything more than the first 3 levels in World 1 and the castle. Don't fancy dealing with the giant fish? Don't want to get those little plumber brothers' toes sandy? Just go ahead and use your first warp whistle to enter into the warp screen. Use your second warp whistle in the warp screen and you are instantly warped to the bottom of the warp screen. This is where World 7 and 8's pipes are held. You can go straight to World 8. Wholly unprepared for World 8, but you are there nonetheless. Example number 3. Unlockable shortcuts that stay open after game over. Now this one is just daft. When you game over, it takes you back to the start of the world that you're in. Any numbered levels that you've already completed are then reset and you have to complete them again. But if you've done any of the castles or ships that have unlocked any of these permanent unlockable shortcuts, they stay open, meaning that instead of taking care of your little red or green friend while you're playing through the game, you can just do it for half the time. Do it until you get to the castle, unlock it, die in the next level, and then skip those first 3 or 5 levels that you've already done. This is more prevalent in World 8 than any other world because it's got the most unlockable shortcuts possible. This means that you can go all the way to Bowser, you can fight Bowser and die, but if you've done all of the levels on that world, you can shortcut all the way to the castle again. Admittedly, you'll only have 3 lives and you'll be a tiny little Mario brother. Example number 4. The inclusion of Toadstool's wondrous emporium of fantastical goodies. Not doing so well? Stomping around as tiny Mario? Don't worry, because Toadstool's power-up emporium has got you covered. Just open one of these chests and you'll get an instant leg up on those treacherous little turtles. Or a 1-up to lose against them. This feels more like a lifeline than a reward for hard work. It would be different if Toadstool offered items that weren't available anywhere else in the game. But basically, it's just super leaves, fire flowers, and mushrooms, all of which can be found in basically every single level in the game. And before you start furiously typing in the comments, don't even mention peas and warp whistles. You see, in Super Mario Bros, it was genuinely difficult but rewarding, okay? Once you'd done levels 1 through 4 in World 1 and got to the safe haven of World 2, you felt a sense of achievement. Like, it was difficult to get there, you know what I mean? And as you progressed through the game, it was much more difficult and much more rewarding. And I know that obviously we had the warp pipes that would take you through worlds. Now, I didn't know before researching for this video that you could get all the way to the end world. But you still had to complete hard levels, and finding those warp pipes was not easy. That one for World 8 is absolutely ridiculous. There was something incredibly satisfying about Super Mario Bros. When you finally got access to the castle where Toad wasn't standing there telling you desperately to go and find the princess because Koopa and his clones had borrowed half of the Mushroom Kingdom along with the princess to make you run miles. And if you look at Mario 3's successors, some of the innovations that they added post Super Mario Bros. 3 are actually really, really good. And I mean, Super Mario World gave us one of the best characters in the franchise ever. Plus, you were actually rewarded for straying off the beaten path. Not to mention that as a Westerner, I just played Super Mario Bros. 2, which was completely different from Super Mario Bros. 1 and Super Mario Bros. 3. And pretty much every 2D platform Mario game that came out after Mario Bros. 3 introduced a genuinely useful power-up or an interesting mechanic. Now, you're either throwing away your copy of Mario 3 or you're on your way around my house to kill me. But wait, you can just come and scold me on Twitch. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, link in the description and all that jazz. There is a reason why you should still play this game even though it is very flawed and it has bad level design. If you don't bother with the warp whistles and you use the P-wings to get through levels that are ridiculously easy or have very little power-ups in them, then navigating World 8 is genuinely difficult and genuinely rewarding. Those levels are insane to complete. The fight with Bowser at the end is genuinely interesting and actually unique compared to every other fight in the game. And if you do decide to complete level 1-4 and hit yourself some 44 coins, you get another P-wing. With all that said and done, it's not a classic, but it is still a pretty solid Mario game, providing that you show some self-restraint and quit using them wings. Keep basking in nostalgia, and I'll see you next time.